Welcome to Sailing Avanti. We are Gerard and Jacqueline, sailing our 41-foot monohull Avanti around the world from Cape Town, South Africa.
This week, we leave the gem Anguilla for the shores of Antigua.
We've just left Anguilla, so we have to motor a little bit to get around the island, out of the lee of the island. The wind's very light at the moment, and we should be getting some wind in about an hour, so hour and a half's motor, and we should be almost around the island, heading to Antigua. So we're going to do it during the night. We'll see, hopefully the weather is as good as predicted.
It's morning and it was an eventful night. I went to bed at around 7 my normal time, and Gerard, being as sweet as he is, never wakes me up for my shift. But around 1 o'clock the winds really were a pain in the ass. They were quite high at times, then quite low, so we kept having to fill in the jib, take out the jib. Right? So it was up and down type of night. But all in all, the weather is quite good. We're averaging about 6 knots. We're doing a close reach, about a close reach, and the winds is about 18 to 20 knots this morning, so it's picked up from last night. When we started off it was around 10 to 15 knots, so all in all, so far a good sail. We've spotted land just a few minutes ago, so not long now then we'll be in Antigua.
We decided to go and clear in at Jolly Harbour. It's more to the north on the western side of Antigua, and it seems to be a little bit cheaper than the other popular harbour called English Harbour. English Harbour is a World Heritage Site, and there's a fee per foot per day. So we saw on one of our sailing channels that we follow that they paid about $120 to clear in at English Harbour, and we went to Jolly Harbour, and it was very efficient to clear in. Customs, immigration and port health and the port authority is right next to each other, and we only paid 85 EC to clear in and to get a cruising permit for the whole of Antigua and Barbuda. So Jolly Harbour is a really good place to clear in, really efficient and much cheaper.
After a good night's rest, both of us head to our favourite shops and dream about the things that we can't have. So this morning we are in Antigua's cruise ship district in St. John's itself, and we're going to have a walk around, but already what we've seen in town, it's a proper cruise ship bay, or part of the city is definitely cruise ship people. You've got all the American shops like the jewelry stores and McDonald's and everything. So definitely a strange place, but it's still interesting to see. From the duty-free and free Wi-Fi lanes to the bustling street stalls and fruit markets, there really was something for everyone in St. John's.
We visited the St. John's Cathedral. This site has been home to 2 churches in the past, one built in the 1600s and one in the 1700s. The cathedral was completed in the 1800s after the previous 2 churches fell into disrepair. The impressive interior of the church can be viewed for free, but donations are accepted that goes towards an ongoing renovation project to restore the church to its previous glory.
With rumbling tummies, it was time to head to Roti King. This small house has won numerous awards for its food.
We're having a local roti today. It's very nice. I'm having chicken, but the portions are huge. So I don't know how Jackie's going to finish hers, but she's having a fish one.
So after we've seen the cathedral and walked through the touristy part of town, it's time to get back to our jobs. We have to find a shop where we can find some stuff to fix the outboard. Karat will give you more detail later, that's all I know. And we're walking back down to town to see if we can find a shop.
In a quest to keep our outboard alive, we have Flick and Clean the Carb with us. We currently have some issues with our tender outboard. So the fact we damaged it a little bit, the throttle, as you might know, the throttle tiller broke off a little bit with some swell at the dinghy dock, and the gear shifter also broke off. So at the moment we just put it stuck into forward gear, and we just have forward and we can't shift, but that's okay. And the throttle that's a little bit wanky is also okay. But it's a very old outboard and the tank is rusted. It's still a metal tank, it's not a plastic tank like the new ones. And I suspect there's a lot of rust that's going into the carburetor, and that's blocking the carburetor. So we have to tweak the choke at the moment to keep it running, otherwise it gets too much air and too little fuel. There is a filter on, but it's not filtering out the small rust particles, I suspect. So this morning I'm taking off the carburetor to see if I can clean the jets and get it running properly again. Well done.
The amount of swearing that just happened. Gerard is working on our outboard. That is giving us some trouble at the moment. And then he dropped the throttle into the deep blue sea right next to the boat, and the water is very murky. I couldn't really see anything, but luckily for him I did find, I don't know how, with the amount of swinging with the wind today, I really didn't think we were going to find it, but we did. Luckily the throttle is back on board.
Yay!
I managed to get most of the rust out of the float bowl of the carb. I also disassembled the whole carburetor and made sure all the jets were clean. So the carb cleaner we bought and that we walked 10,000 steps for worked quite well, and the carb was pretty clean at the end of the exercise.
So I've removed the fuel tank from the tender, and as you can see, this is now just scraping off the top surface. There is quite a lot of surface rust inside the tank, so we're going to try and clean that out so that it doesn't block the carb again. I'm going to try and clean the petrol tank with I actually wanted to put in some stones, but we can't go to land. So I'm putting in some screws and nuts into the tank, and I'm going to just juggle that around as much as I can so that it abrades the rust off. And then the last bit I'll do is some vinegar, some white vinegar, to try and dissolve the rust and get it out. So hopefully it goes well.
The last step before we start the engine again to see that the carburetor works was to try and secure the tiller arm that broke off against the dinghy dock in some swell in the past. I did manage to get some bolts in there so that you could secure the tiller arm. It did, however, in the end only last for about 2 days, and the bolts came out with all the vibration, so I have to get another fix for that. The good news is that the dinghy engine started on the first pull and it's still working at the moment.
In Antigua, one of the most famous fruits or even things is called the black pineapple, and it is half dark at the top and then normal colored pineapple at the bottom. And we did something completely unlike ourselves. This is the probably most expensive fruit we've ever bought, but everybody keeps telling us it's going to be worth the taste. You even find this pineapple on the coat of arms, so it really is a famous fruit. Let's see if it's worth it. We paid about 18 EC for it, and yeah, I don't think I've ever paid so much for a fruit in my life.
Looks good, hopefully it tastes good.
Tastes like a normal pineapple.
We've had some really good pineapples in the Caribbean so far, and honestly this doesn't taste any different. Pineapple.
This is our Wi-Fi spot for the day. Right next to the restaurant. We are stealing a bit of Wi-Fi, but what can we do? If you don't have money for a cell phone contract, this is how we get our data.
We visited Nelson's Dockyard, a UNESCO World Heritage Site situated inside English Harbour. English Harbour has been used as a hurricane hole as early as the 1600s. The Dockyard was the only harbour large enough in the Eastern Caribbean that could be used for naval ship repairs throughout the 1700s. The museum inside the Dockyard has some interesting artifacts of the naval industry throughout the years. It also contains a chart from the 1800s that already has detailed charted depths of the area. We also found the brutal procedure that was used to treat yellow fever. It includes bleeding the patient and administering opium every 2 hours.
Queen Elizabeth planted this tree in 1966 when she visited here. The Royal Palm.
Fort Berkeley can be found at the entrance of English Harbour and is the oldest fortification, dating back to 1704. It was constructed by the colonial government and was manned by gunners, not soldiers. Many spectators make their way here to view the many races that are held annually.
Today we're tasting the local Antiguan lager. It's one of the only local beers that they do produce, or that they label to be produced in Antigua. But if you look at the fine print, it's actually produced in St. Vincent on behalf of Antigua Brewery. So, and they look very similar to the local beers we've had in St. Vincent. So the taste might just be a little bit different. It's also a lager, and it's quite light. It's 4.8% alcohol. The bottles that you get there is also these small bottles. It's only 250 milliliters, so only two mouthfuls. So it's a very clear, light lager. Taste is pretty good. Not compared to my favorite lagers, so I think similar to the local beers we had in St. Vincent, I would probably give this one a 5 out of 10. The cost of it is also around $1.50 in the shop. That's US dollars, and about $4 US in the pub.
Just around Jolly Harbour's Reed's Point is a long, wide, sandy beach that's enjoyed by locals and tourists alike. On our walk, we came across the abandoned Jolly Beach Resort. This massive property closed due to COVID and is on sale now. Everything was left as is, from appliances, tables and chairs, and even alcohol still left in the bar. Back on the beach, we see something in the water and Harald goes in to have a better look. And oh my goodness, I think it's I might be wrong. I think if you look at the tail, it might be, yes, it definitely is. The lesser seen great bearded whale. Next week we head to the crystal clear waters of Barbuda. You're not gonna wanna miss this one. A simple like or a comment really goes a long way with helping us make these videos. But if you want to do more, there's always our Patreon link that's in the description below. See you next week.